A little bit of road work.
Good evening. I have 7 o'clock. I'm going to call the meeting to order, and I'll ask the clerk to please call the roll.
Thank you, Mayor. Mr. Greg David,
Present.
Mr. Tyler Dean,
Here.
Ms. Emily Hamburg, absent today, Mr. Tom Schmitz is also absent, and Mr. John Welch.
Present.
Okay, and you have a quorum, Mayor.
Thank you. This evening, we have Pastor Mark Polson to lead us in prayer. Pastor Polson.
Mr. Mayor. Father, we come today and just thank you for this beautiful winter day. Father, we thank you for this wonderful Christmas season that we celebrate, the hope that we celebrate. Father, you are the true giver. Father, we thank you for those who give of their time, of their service for this community, for our mayor, our city council members, our city manager and staff. Father, tonight, would you just bless this time, decisions, discussions, and Father, thank you for the wisdom you provide. In Christ's name, amen.
Amen. Thank you. Please join me in pledge of allegiance to the American flag.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Next item on the agenda is to determine if we have any agenda additions. Are there any additions to make to the agenda?
Well, let's add 5 or 10 things for the new council member.
Okay, you got to tell me what they
exiting
are.
jive.
All right, we'll move on to consent agenda. So the consent agenda contains the minutes of the November 18th city council meeting, as well as several appointments. So the first one is an appointment of Mr. Sean Brata to fill the seat 3 on the Utility Advisory Committee, which was formerly occupied by Art Tenbrink. And if confirmed, his appointment will be for 3 years, ending on August 1st of 2028. And for the Chisholm Creek Utility Authority, I am appointing Councilmember-elect Mike Proctor to serve as the alternate commissioner, and Mike would replace former Councilmember Tom Schmidt. And I also selected Greg David and myself to serve as commissioners for CCUA. And according to the bylaws, the mayor is somewhat of a default commissioner on there. And if confirmed, the terms of the CCUA appoints will begin on tonight, 12/2 of 2025, and end in 12/7 of 2027.
Mr. Mayor,
Mr. Dean,
I move we approve the consent agenda as listed and authorize the mayor to sign.
do we have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, I have a motion by Mr. Dean, a second by Mr. David. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion carries 3-0. Discussion. The next item is discussion and approval of appropriations ordinance. So this appropriation ordinance encompasses expenses from November 12th through November 25th. Expenditures amount to about $2.5 million. Of the reported expenses, a little over $1 million are infrastructure costs for new developments, and these costs are paid through special assessments.
Mr. Mayor,
Mr. David,
a motion to approve appropriations ordinance number 25-22.
Second.
a motion by Mr. David, a second by Mr. Dean. Any questions or discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for a vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Same sign. Motion carries 3-0. We'll now move on to item 8, which is the oath of office or newly elected council members. So We have Mr. Michael Proctor and Mr. Brandon McIntosh, who will take the oath of office administered by our city clerk.
And if you will please just raise your right hand and repeat after me. I, please state your name,
I, Michael Proctor,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States,
that I will support the Constitution of the United States,
the Constitution of the State of Kansas,
the Constitution of the State of Kansas,
and the ordinances of the City of Bel Aire, Kansas,
and the ordinances of the City of Bel Aire, Kansas,
and that I will faithfully perform the duties of City Council Member
and that I will faithfully perform the duties of City Council Member
for the City of Bel Aire
for the City of Bel Aire
to the best of my ability, so help me God.
to the best of my ability, so help me God.
Very nice. Okay, if you could please sign and down at the bottom there.
Oh, wait.
No, that's fair.
That's it?
That's just
Cool.
right. Okay. Thank you very much and congratulations.
Congratulations.
Okay, please raise your right hand. I
I, Brandon McIntosh,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States,
that I will support the Constitution of the United States,
the Constitution of the State of Kansas,
the Constitution of the State of Kansas,
and the ordinances of the City of Bel Aire, Kansas,
and the ordinances of the City of Bel Aire, Kansas,
and that I will faithfully perform the duties of City Council Member
and that I will faithfully perform the duties of City Council Member
for the City of Bel Aire
for the City of Bel Aire
to the best of my ability,
to the best of my ability.
so help me God.
So help me God.
Very nice. Thank you. If you could please sign right there. Congratulations. You can have a seat over here with the council now.
Will the council members please take their seats?
I got this one signed.
Yeah. Okay. Okay, so the next item is a roll call of the new city council. So I'll ask the clerk to please call the roll.
Okay. Mr. Greg David,
Present.
Mr. Tyler Dean,
Here.
Ms. Emily Hamburg is absent, Mr. Brandon McIntosh,
Present.
Mr. Mike Proctor,
Present.
and Mayor Jim Benaj.
Present.
You have a quorum, Mayor.
Thank you. So next item is city requested appearances, and we have no city requested appearances this evening. So we'll move on to citizen concerns. If there are any citizens who wish to speak to council, do we have any citizen cards, city clerk? No cards? Okay. If there are any members of citizens who would like to speak to council, I give you an opportunity now. So. And if there are none, we'll move on to council member reports. I'll start with Mr. Dean.
I do have a few things. Thanks, Mayor. First, I just wanted to say I hope everyone enjoyed their Thanksgiving with their family, and looking forward to launching into the Christmas season here. And on that note, and I'm sure our city manager will touch on it, just a reminder that Christmas in Bel Aire is this Saturday. So please bring your families, come on out to City Hall. It's always a good time. And also there's always a good light display that our public works folks and staff put on that they do a really good job setting up. So hope to see you guys all there. That's all I have. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Mr. David.
Mr. Mayor, I did attend CCUA November 20th. Sounds like a broken record, but we're still struggling to meet the new requirements. We think it's largely a sampling error, but the influence are still higher than we're rated for also. So still some work to be done there. Ready for the new one to come online. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Proctor.
Mr. Mayor, I don't have a whole lot to report other than I'm excited to serve with you. And you guys do have a nicer city council chambers than Goddard has. So it's a nice upgrade. Yeah.
Oh, good. Well, thank you and welcome. Mr. McIntosh.
Mr. Mayor, I don't have anything to report. I'm excited to serve on the council.
Great. Well, thank you and welcome to the council. And if you're not used to speaking with these microphones, it's very important that you work on doing that because these meetings are recorded. If you're not speaking in the microphone, they don't get picked up on the recording. So just kind of a word of caution. I struggle with it myself, so I understand. So, all right. All right. Thank you. Move on to the mayor's report. So a few things. On Wednesday, the 19th of November, I attended the Utility Advisory Committee and we reviewed the draft presentation that Ted Henry and I will be moving forward to discuss with Wichita on our plan for managing water usage in Bel Aire moving forward. Subsequent to that meeting, Ted Henry and I have been working on additional information to provide to Wichita, and the UAC was unable to provide input. And we are planning to set up a meeting with Wichita folks soon. I don't have a date for that yet. So on November 20th, I attended the South Central Transportation Coalition meeting, and this group advocates for local transportation projects in South Central Kansas. It consists of government and business leaders. One of their big wins was the North Junction project, which is an ongoing project. Still got a couple more years to go on that one. They will be inviting other similar groups to join them to help advocate with one voice the priorities for the region. And one of these groups is the K254 Corridor Development Association, of which Bel Aire is intimately involved. And on Thursday, November 20th, I also attended the CCUA meeting, Chisholm Creek Utility Authority meeting. And we had we have received a final and revised consent order and decree from KDHE. This basically updated the compliance dates to match the construction schedule. It will still retain the $75,000 fine that is in abeyance. It is not likely KDHE will ever move forward to collect that fine as long as we continue to make progress on the expansion project. Russ Hazelwood, the CCUA attorney, announced that he was resigning as the CCUA attorney. He said that he would work with us on finding a new attorney and will continue to work with us through the transition. He said he has been working with us for 20 years and now it's time to move on. And we are grateful for his continued support and the willingness to help us secure a new attorney. We created an interview committee of Jim Schroeder, Park City Council member, Sean Fox, Park City Administrator, Tony Keenst, the CCUA Utility Manager, Ted Henry, the Bel Aire City Manager, Russ Hazelwood, the attorney, and myself. And we've already secured a list of 4 potential attorneys that we will be contacting to learn of their interest. And we also authorized a 3% COLA, cost of living allowance for the CCUA staff, excluding the utility manager, with a total pool of 8% for performance raises for the CCUA staff. And this gives Tony the guidance on raises he will authorize for the 2026. Then on Friday, November 21st, I attended the K254 Corridor Development Association meeting in Keachai, and this was a short review and update of the local KDOT consult and the status of a conceptual plan being developed by Wilson & Company for the section of K254 from Woodlawn to Greenwich. So they're making progress. They're getting a conceptual plan together. So be watching for a public meeting to be scheduled sometime in January in 2026 to present conceptual ideas for public input. And that meeting will be driven by Wilson & Company and KDOT. It is not a Bel Aire meeting, although we may have it here. I don't know. It hasn't been decided where it's going to be yet, but it will be their meeting. So we also heard from the new president of Butler County Community College, Dr. Tamara Daniel, and we held an annual election of officers. Mr. Kelly Herzett was reelected as president. He is a county commissioner of Butler County. And I was reelected as the vice president. Ted Henry was elected as the treasurer, and Dee Ross was reelected as secretary. I'll now ask our city attorney for her report.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of the City Council, and our newly elected council members, McIntosh and Proctor. I will give a brief update tonight about the Kansas Open Records Act. The Kansas Open Records Act is Kansas law where an individual can make a request to obtain or inspect public records as long as it's not exempted by Kansas statute. There is a time clock involved. Once we, the city, receive such a request, we have 3 business days to respond. This occurs with every government entity within the state. Recently, in the last 3 months, the city of Hayesville, unfortunately, a fine was issued against the Hayesville City Council for violating the Kansas Open Records Act. I want to share a little bit about this example and what we are doing on our end to try to hopefully prevent this from happening. In regards to this specific example with Hayesville, an individual made a request. They specifically made a request for photographs, and those photographs were not provided to the requester. There was no explanation given to the requester as to why those photographs were not being released. A few months later, those photographs that were said not available were provided in a jury trial. As a result, the requester learned that photographs actually did exist. So why were they not provided them? Because of that information, it led to a complaint with the Attorney General's office, and they did an investigation. Based upon the investigation, they did find that there was evidence to believe that the Kansas Open Records Act had been violated. There was no evidence to suggest that it was done intentionally by anyone at the city. It was unfortunate. It was done unknowingly because a city staff person did not realize that that evidence existed, that those photographs were available. So what are we doing for the council? Please know that it's absolute support of the city manager to please be as compliant as possible. Myself, the city clerk, the chief of police, director of planning and development, we received many Kansas Open Records Act requests regarding those specific departments. There are meetings taking place where we are looking at our current ordinance regarding open records and figuring out what needs to be updated, what workflow processes need to be revisited, how can we make it more efficient. We're looking at the website, the form on the website. Is there a way to make it more user-friendly? Having hard copy templates at the front lobby and also at the police department for individuals who need them. Having regular meetings with the public custodians who handle these documents, who handle record requests. So we're trying to do as much as we can. What is the penalty for Hayesville? It was a $250 fine assessed against the city council, along with a requirement to obtain additional training and also to be as cognizant as possible. We have training with our staff as well. We will schedule training for 2026. Just wanted to give you a little update. These are things that we learn from. And if you ever have any questions, you can always reach out to me and I'll let you know what we're doing. That's just an update, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. I appreciate the information. And we'll move on to our city manager report.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Welcome, new council members. Excited to start a new session and get to work. I know last meeting I kind of reported I gave a few presentations on Bel Aire to the Bel Aire Chamber of Commerce and WAMPO, Wichita Area Metropolitan Planning Organization. A few council members asked for that presentation, and I thought it might be fitting with a couple of new council members sitting in, and we're going to go much deeper than this, but I was going to go over some highlights and cliff notes of what I've been telling others about Bel Aire. First, it's the land of opportunity. We're not a bedroom community. We're more than a suburb, and we're really growing. Those are the big points I stress at the beginning of these types of presentations. We're just over 10,000 in population. 48% of our population has a bachelor's degree or higher. 77% home ownership rate. We have 7 parks. For the new council members, we'll have an 8th coming up in early 2026 as we're planning Skyview Park. We have 6 community events throughout the year. I kind of stress this shred and e-recycling shred day we have. It's probably one of the best ways to communicate with citizens because they come around and drop off their boxes, and there's always 2 or 3 minutes you can just say hi. And I get more input about the city from shred day than about anything else. as well as Christmas in Bel Aire is this Saturday. So I want to invite the community out to that. It's 5:30 to 7:30 here at City Hall. Always a good time. I have Santa here and a lot of kids. Then I go on about, this is about 20 years ago, a picture from City Hall. Really no development at all. If you look at this today, we're all housed up along this corridor. These are all our developments we have going on. I always like to highlight the wide area, which is our Sunflower Commerce Park, which has been blowing up recently. About the last 2 years, we've had several businesses relocate in the Sunflower Commerce Park, and that's kind of why we see it as a land of opportunity. A lot of businesses see all that land and want to build and grow their business in Bel Aire. I've been here 10 years, and there's good and bads on that. I was the finance director, and during 2020, when the census came, I gave a presentation. It was I believe is a forecast, financial forecast. And I said, okay, so the 2020 census came in at 8,400 citizens. Now, if we grow like we've normally been growing, that's the black line. But looking at all the lots we had plotted, I said, if we keep up the pace we've been doing in 2019, 2020, that's going to be our populations line. And I think the council and even I were like, man, that's a steep incline. How are we going to get prepared for that? Well, that's the population. That's where the line grew since I gave that presentation. It's right along the scary line. So that's how fast we're growing and how much we're doing in Bel Aire. Our utility accounts are up 38% from 2019. Our youth sports programs are up 12%. If you're going to go to a lot of K254, you're going to meet a lot with KDOT. Some of their crash data, they'll include 2020. I didn't want to include our youth programs participation in 2020 because that was COVID year and then low, but we've grown 60% since 2020 if we want to use that number, but I figure that's probably not as accurate as we should be. I always show our staff. I challenge a lot of cities of our size to have a leaner and meaner staff than we do. We have about 48 employees that work for Bel Aire, and I always include their names, a few of them, because a lot of times we get roped in with the federal government where you think there's just towers and towers of staff and, hey, work on this problem. You get staff to work on that. But I sometimes challenge citizens and anybody else. That's Glenn, that's Mary, that's Joe, that's working for us. And that's how I try to manage the city and our staff is we're all people and have families behind us. This is always something too, the last 2 years, and hopefully we're on the downturn of all this improvement, but our motto is City of Future with respect to the past. We have several mottos, but that's the one on our seal. And I think we respected our past a little too long with a lot of the software and technology we had running the city. About 2 years ago, we had this diagram made, and all those red boxes are either other programs we had to set up for our older main, you think of a brain, the brain of the operation. We had to set up a different program because we bought this smaller program 20 years ago and it didn't grow with the times. Now people want to pay online. So we had to set up an online payment program that connected to our outdated main brain. So we graph that. So this is where we're currently at. You see all the red go away. What that does to staff is a lot of work. I look at Barry. He's did a lot of that help working with the transition. But it also asked all our staff asked a lot of questions. Why are we doing it this way? It's not just different keystrokes that you're making, but it's the different processes we're adopting. So the last year we've been adopting a lot of new processes and streamlining what we do. And all of that is to make our employees more powerful, and it allows us to grow without growing staff as much as we'd have to. Like I talked about in the white area with the Sunflower Commerce Park, we have multiple businesses that came on. Walton's, FedEx has been a mainstay. Amazon came on last year. They're about ready to open up. Wichita Business Journal had an article that said they're hiring 100 different people for that one facility. You're also going to look at a lot of park improvements. We've really been focused on streets, and then we've also improved some parks. This is Eagle Lake Park that we did this past year. Now it looks like that. And then we relocated the volleyball court at the rec center. It was a really good project. We got the community involved on the relocation of the volleyball court. Rec center's next. It's currently being done. I think we're about a month or two out from the rec center playground. And then, of course, our public works facility that we'll probably look at touring next week or the week after, whenever we can get going. But we have the key, we have the certificate of occupancy right now. They're finishing up installing some equipment, and Marty will get ready to move. So I kind of want to get you guys in there to see it before we have all the equipment in there. And that's what the inside looks like. Of course, we have tons of priorities as a growing city. Nearly all of our arterial streets will need some work in the next 10 to 15 years, hopefully sooner, but we're working at it as piece by piece. This is some of our localized streets we've done from 2022 to 2025. About 62% of all local streets have been touched in the last 5 years. That's something not a lot of cities can say. The biggest and brightest thing we have in Bel Aire, one, is for safety, is the K254 improvements that KDOT's looking at. Right now, it's in a conceptual plan. You might have noticed Mayor Benaj mentioned that Mayor is the vice president. I'm the treasurer of the K254 Association. Big honor, very good. But a lot of that is over the next 9 months, KDOT's doing a study. They have a conceptual design for those 3 different interchanges along Rock, Webb, and Greenwich. So Rock's more than likely going to be an overpass, but Webb and Greenwich, we're looking at interchanges, which, one, will improve safety first and foremost, but 2, could potentially look at a large expansion in Bel Aire and on our north side. So we have to be ready at all times. And that's kind of what it looks like. And then I round it off with some good stuff, but that's usually how I promote, and it's a lot slower than that. I just wanted to get through it. Bel Aire through all the partnerships we have when they want to hear what's going on with Bel Aire. So that's a good start. Next time we'll go a more traditional city manager's report, but I thought I'd start it off like that, Mr. Mayor. So happy to answer any questions.
Very good. Thank you. Is there any questions for the city manager? I do want to say, I emphasized when we started this project of this new ERP system, the brains of the city, in some sense, that I have seen these systems set up in many businesses that I've consulted with, that they use just a piece of it and they're wasting their money buying it. And so I emphasized with Mr. Henry that we won't do that. We will make full utilization of this software and all its applications, and we will not be customizing it, because if you customize, you can't upgrade. So those are 2 objectives that they've done a very good job of achieving. I think we're at the tail end of the implementation. There are probably still some bugs out there they have to squeak through, but you'll probably never finish all of those. But I do believe they've done an outstanding job with that, and I really appreciate the efforts there. So move on to next item, ordinance, resolutions, and final actions. The first item under 8A is approval of public notice, public hearing. So on November 18th, the city council meeting, staff reviewed the process for amending the budget. And this first step is set a date for a public hearing. A staff report and draft notice are included in your packet. And as discussed on November 18th, and to be extra clear, property taxes cannot be changed or levied during this amendment process. The city's finance director, Mr. Barry Smith, is here to discuss and answer any questions. Mr. Smith.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. That was a great recap of what this process is about. Each year when we do our annual budgeting process, we go through and we outline everything, all the revenues coming in and expenses going out. If at the end of the year we find ourselves above or going to go above the expenditure amount that we set during the annual budget process, we need to amend the budget to increase our expenditure threshold to those amounts at the end of the year. We do that to avoid any kind of budget violations. And that's the reasoning behind the amendment process itself. So what we're doing tonight is we're approving the publication for the notice of hearing that we'll have on December 16th. And that hearing outlines each fund that's being amended and the new expenditure authority giving to those funds. So the funds being amended are our general fund, our streets, water, sewer, and our land bank fund. The general fund and land bank go hand in hand with the, as Ted showed on his presentation, the new public works building. We had a grant project that had a significant city match for that project. We utilized those funds from the land bank, which had to go into our general fund, which then we transferred over to our capital improvement fund. Because we booked those revenues in and expenses out, we had to increase our expenditure authority for those two funds. So that's why those are being amended. Our streets fund is being amended because most of our 2024 project costs occurred in 2025. And you might be wondering, why do we need to amend the budget? Don't we know those costs? Well, during the annual budget process, we're outlining our budget 18 months in advance. So we never know if we're going to have weather delays for projects or any unexpected expenses occur, any major maintenance items happen throughout the year. So at the end of the year, it's kind of our cleanup. That's why we do these amendments. The last two, the water and sewer funds, they're more of just the corrections that clean things up with the personnel costs there. When we entered those numbers into our state form, the sewer personnel numbers were entered into water and the water personnel numbers were entered into sewer. So it's just going to flip those and clean those up, make it look better for our financial statements. That's really all the amendment process is and the funds we're amending this year. And I'll stand for any questions.
And this motion will only approve publication of a notice of public hearing, correct?
Right. Yep. So that would be published this Thursday, and then the hearing will be held on December 16th at 7 p.m.
To get the 10-day notice requirement. Right?
Yep.
Yeah. Any questions for Mr. Smith? If there are none, I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Mayor,
Mr. David,
a motion to approve publication of notice of public hearing for a 2025 budget amendment and schedule a public hearing for the December 16th, 2025 City Council meeting.
I'll second.
motion by Mr. David, a second by Mr. Dean. Any questions or discussion? Last chance. Hearing none, I'll call for a vote. All in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries 4-0.
Thanks, Barry.
Next item is a vacation issue, 2503. So public hearing was held by Planning Commission on November 13th, 2025 regarding this vacation request. And prior to the public hearing on October 23, 2025, a notice of public hearing was published on the city's website and mailed to property owners within 200 feet of the subject property. The agent for the applicant spoke at the hearing. No others requested to speak. Following the public hearing, the Planning Commission reviewed the criteria and voted to recommend to the City Council that the request for vacation be approved. The ordinance to approve the vacation request now comes for the City Council to consider. Being this is a zoning type of matter, we have a specific script that our attorney has written for us. And so I will follow that script. Here, if I can pull it up on my screen. Everything wants to go the other direction. Okay, so this is a vacation of a portion of our drainage and utility easement and a platted joint access easement on lots 1, 2, 3, Block B, Lissay addition, because the existing easements are in conflict with the revised site development plan. The property is generally located in the northeast corner of Rock and Lissay Street in Bel Aire, Kansas. So the first issue we need to address is disqualification declared or quorum determined. So before we proceed with the hearing, does anyone on the council intend to disqualify themselves from participating in this case because they have a conflict of interest? Meaning you own property, you have relatives that own property that are affected by this vacation, those kinds of things. And if you have questions, our city attorney can help clarify that. And I will need to either have an affirmative no, you're not disqualified, or yes, you are disqualified. So,
No for me.
No, sir.
No.
No.
okay. Let the record show that all present council members have declared that they do not have a conflict of interest here. And myself do not either. So the ex parte communication. So has anyone on the council received any ex parte verbal or written communication prior to this agenda item, which they would like to share? And again, we need to either affirmative no or affirmative yes. And you don't have to explain the ex parte communication unless somebody wants to pursue that.
No for me.
No.
No.
And I have not received any either. So let the record show that there no members of the governing body have received any ex parte communications. So I ask the city clerk, has there been any protest petitions or written objections in this case? Okay, let the record show that the city clerk has not received any protest petitions or written objections. Summary hearing: has everyone in the council received the unapproved minutes of the Planning Commission for November 13th, 2025, which summarized the public hearing for this case? It was in your packet. So, and let the record show everybody is saying, yes, they have reviewed it. So, having determined that all council members have received the required information, city staff will provide the report first, and then the applicant and any members of the public may speak in this case, confining their presentations to new information not otherwise presented in the public hearing. Afterwards, council may want to direct questions to the applicant, the city staff, or other persons present. So I will now allow our Paula Downs, who is our, okay, you got this long title. I never can remember it. So what is your title?
Community Development Director.
Community Development Director. Thank you. Okay. So she is the one who will tell us from the staff perspective about this case. So, Ms. Downs.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and welcome new council members. I put some slides together related to this case. It's a fairly short case, not too complex. Recently, this case was before council on September 2nd related to a zoning matter where we updated it to an RPUD. It's a development up near Rock Road off and Lassay. Currently, that we had the zoning case that was approved. It had some landscaping and screening requirements. The council then approved it again on September 2nd. Currently, they're before us for a vacation case. The vacation is to vacate portions of a drainage and utility easement and a platted joint access and easement on the property. These were original to the plat. The development does not require them. We reached out to the utility companies. They have nothing in those easements, don't need access across the property. They had no concerns and approved the vacation case as presented. The map up there, as well as in your packet, shows in the shaded areas where those easements lie. If you overlay the development that was previously approved, those areas will have units on them. So it doesn't make, we don't need them. So they're asking for them to be vacated. There's a couple of criteria that were met during the Planning Commission. It's a review criteria that the notice of petition to vacate and the public hearing was published, which happened. Owners were notified and we published it in the official city newspaper. Notice of the vacation was provided to all the utilities. There were no concerns related to private rights or any causing anybody any harm, right? Approving that vacation case. The public will suffer no loss or inconvenience if it's granted. The approval of the vacation case at the Planning Commission meant that the easements were not used by the utility companies and that it will be, if vacated, will allow them to do the development as approved previously with the units. And in justice to the petitioner, the vacation case should be granted. So the Planning Commission approved it 5-0. And what's before you tonight is the final approval to vacate those utility easements and access areas. And Thomas Joyce with Baughman is here if you have any specific question related to the applicant, but staff is recommending approval of the vacation. And I'll stand for any questions on this item.
Any questions for Ms. Downs? If there are none, we'll keep on moving through this script. The next issue is written communications. Have any written communications been received?
We have not received any.
We've not received any written communications. So let the record reflect that no written communications have been received. And the applicant with Baughman is now welcome to make any presentation of new information that he may like to offer.
Good evening, Mayor and City Council. My name again, Thomas Joyce with Baughman Company, agent for the applicant. Paula did a great job explaining. We have a new development plan than what was previously platted. And so to move forward with the development plan, we need to vacate these easements. So that's why we're here tonight before you guys. Happy to answer any questions you may have.
Doesn't appear there are any questions, so thank you. Are there any public comments of anyone from the public here? And I see only one person from the public here, and you're welcome to comment. Okay, thank you. So now's the opportunity for the city council to deliberate and talk about this matter, what your concerns may or may not be. Do we need to go through the golden factors with this, Ms. Schrock? No, that's not required. Okay.
There's no need for the golden factors.
Okay. I didn't know if there were. I just wanted to clarify. So thank you for clarifying. Okay. So we don't need to list the golden factors for your decisions. So, all right. And if you don't know what those are, we'll let you know later, but they're basically based upon a Kansas Supreme Court ruling of a person named Golden. So anyway,
Mr. Mayor,
Mr. Dean.
I do have a quick question, Paula. Can you just go through, is this a pretty typical thing, vacation of easements? And then how does that come about? How do you figure out that the easements are there and that they need vacated? Just so the public can kind of understand this is pretty kind of a typical process.
Absolutely. So the easements are set out in an original plat. So as the development plans change over the years and looks different on the site, sometimes there are easements in awkward places. And in this instance, we're running through where they plan to develop. So in order to remedy or the original plat and vacate portions, we have to come before the council, planning commission and council to vacate those easements. Now those easements are designed for utilities and other things that go in them. And in this instance, it just so happened that the easements weren't being used by any of the utility companies, and it did not need to disrupt the planning of the development that was going to be on the site. So they came before us to remedy the original plat, and that way they can go forward with the approved design of the development. So it's a pretty typical process. And in this instance, it made sense because they weren't being used in any words.
Would it
Do you
be
want
fair
to add anything else, Thomas? Did I clarify that good?
No, that was quick. I give long answers.
Okay, good.
Would it be,
But if you'd like to give a longer answer, you're welcome to.
Paul, what
Adds
I'm
value.
gathering, just to summarize, is
Yes.
that this is probably a little bit more clean and straightforward than normal because there's no existing utilities to worry about.
Correct.
It's
And,
just
and
open.
if they came with if there was a utility in that easement, they probably wouldn't have requested in the first place because it's very difficult to move things.
Sure.
But in this instance, there was nothing in there, and they tend to go around the perimeter, and it was just easier accessible.
Very good. Makes sense. Thank you for explaining.
Of course. I'm still kind of hoping for the longer answer at some point, but
I have to apologize. I skipped a step here that our attorney gave us, so I need to go through one other thing. So being as there were no further speakers, I do have to close the public comment session. And per KSA 12505, governing body determines the evidence presented. And there are four things that you will be determining here. One, that legal notice has been given by publication as required, that no private rights have been injured or endangered by the vacation, that the public will suffer no loss or inconvenience thereby, and that in justice to the petitioner, the request of the petitioner ought to be granted. And then you can enact an ordinance if you can affirm those four things have occurred. So, but go on with the discussion if you'd like.
No, I think I was done. I was just kind of wanting to use it as an educational moment for maybe folks that are listening to what a vacation means. And I think our planning commission is really geared up on that and sees them a lot. We don't see them all that often, but
No.
it is kind of
Okay.
nice to kind of, revisit what that actually means. And hopefully that was helpful.
We've had a couple over the years. Yeah, it's not very common, but yeah, very good.
That's all I had.
Any other questions, comments, concerns? Okay, if not, your packet shows three option motions, and this will be a roll call vote. So I'll need a motion and then a second, and then we will call for a roll call vote.
So, Mr. Mayor, first, all those items, those four items you mentioned that, I do believe we're addressing all of those and think that we've done a good job. Thanks staff for doing that and the applicant for helping through that too. And so with that said, I'll go ahead and move to approve the findings of fact and recommendation of the Planning Commission for vacation 2025-03, adopt the ordinance as presented and authorize the mayor to sign.
I'll second.
I have a motion by Mr. Dean, a second by Mr. Proctor. Any other questions or discussion? What? He did, I thought you did. Oh, well, I'll correct that.
You beat me to the punch.
Okay, very good. I'll correct it. The correct motion was by Mr. Dean and the second one by Mr. McIntosh. And any other questions or discussion? If there are none, we'll let the clerk please call the roll.
Mr. Greg David,
Aye.
Mr. Tyler Dean,
Aye.
Ms. Emily Hamburg is absent, Mr. Brandon McIntosh,
Aye.
Mr. Mike Proctor,
Aye.
and Mayor Jim Benaj.
Aye.
And the motion carries 5-0, Mayor.
Very good. Thank you. One final, well, if there are any persons aggrieved by this, there are equity law that they can pursue. Move on to item C, consideration of ordinance approving the recommendations of Planning Commission on comprehensive plan. So in 2023, the city initiated a project to create a new comprehensive plan. I think it hadn't been updated since 2017, if I'm correct.
We had a master growth plan in 2018, yes.
I'm sorry?
In 2018, we had a master growth plan.
2018, okay. So PEC was retained to gather community feedback and draft a plan. The Planning Commission approved the comprehensive plan resolution on August 14th. On September 2nd, the City Council voted to return the plan to the Commission in order to make certain revisions. PEC made the revisions and the Planning Commission voted on November 13th to recommend approval of the revised plan to City Council. And Director of Community Development, Paula Downs, and Mr. Lance Ossont from PEC are available for questions. Mr. Lance, did I pronounce your name right? Thank you, sir.
Okay, so on September 2nd, you did return this back to the Planning Commission. The mayor pointed out some updates that potentially could be made and committed to creating a full report of the plan and some questions that he had. So we received that plan shortly after the September 2nd City Council meeting, and we're able to sit down with the mayor and talk about several items. Actually, the list is in your packet. There was about 17 items. Of big concerns were the data that was being used to support the assessment part of our community. And because data is behind and the timing of that portion of the comprehensive plan being established was done in late 2023, early 2024. So the most current data we had at the time was 2022 data. But then as we came into 2024, we were doing community engagement, we were developing the plans, we were writing the plans, reviewing the plans. And by the time it got back in 2025, then the data, again, we'd cycled through another year. So we have updated the data to the most current that we had, which is 2023. This month, sometime, they will release the 2024. So it's about timing and how the data was presented. But we did go through each item with the mayor and talk about what could be done, what could be updated. Also in your packet, we included the key pages that were updated. And we talked to the mayor about that also. But in the staff report from November 13th section of the Planning Commission, there were 8 items that were updated, that we clarified, and we pointed out those pages in the comprehensive plan. And tonight, all of those updates have been made. I'm happy to go through each step, and I'm sure the mayor can relate some other information that he developed the report. But we did add some flexibility language. We added and removed some language that didn't make sense related to the assets near Bel Aire. And a lot of it was the data updating as much as we could with the most current data. So we had about 8 items that we either added some footnotes to, we changed the body of the plan, and then we also updated charts or whatever was required related to the data. So before you is the updated version. Of course, if we have some other updates or we want to talk anything else, we can sure do that. But we're recommending that the comprehensive plan as updated and approved by the Planning Commission be adopted.
Thank you. I did review this and all the updates that were needed were made. I wish we could put 2025 data in this thing, but the powers that be are saying that's not reasonable or possible. So we'll go with the data we have. And, but I think they've done a pretty decent job of either explaining or updating based upon the concerns that were raised. So thank you.
And Lance is here from PEC if you have any specific questions or concerns about the comprehensive plan. Otherwise, we can I'll stand for questions. Thank you.
And Lance is primarily the person who did the legwork on this, the drafting of it and all that. So.
Well, since somebody's going to ask a question, I'll just ask Lance, how do you feel about the comprehensive plan? Now that it's final.
Feeling good.
Just a general open-ended question.
Yeah, I think generally, it really sets you guys up for that next 10 years. So even though 2018, so we do a lot of comprehensive plans, we work with a lot of cities. 2018 seems like a pretty distant past for you guys, but a lot of the communities that we do comprehensive plans with are from the early 2000s. But even that said, right, less than 10 years, a significant amount of information and knowledge has changed about the way we plan for cities, the way we plan for communities. So it represents, I think, some of those kind of best practices going forward as you guys really start to see that vision of more than a suburban community really come to play, and you are faced with these development questions and how to manage your assets from a fiscally responsible perspective. And a lot of the things that we think about from an urban planning and development perspective today that we didn't in 18 really sets you guys up to have at least that playbook or that framework to really think about growth from a smart perspective as opposed to just a responsive attitude. So I think it's good. I think these things are living documents, right? So I checked this morning, the new data for 2024 doesn't quite get us to 2025, actually delayed until the end of January. So these are the types of things that professional staff, boots on the ground here every day can continue to evaluate and monitor. So again, revisit it every year, hope at least once a year, but hopefully be used all of the time. But again, sets you guys on a good foundation for the next 10 years for sure.
And then a quick follow-up question. So some of the other plans that we have, like the road maintenance plan or road repair plan that we've been working, I know we've got some other plans, the bike ped plan, the park and there's a bunch of these other plans. Do you feel like those are reflected well and tied into this well, in your opinion, just to other plans you've done? We may have more of that than some of communities you serve. We may have less, but do they tend to tie in well?
Yeah, they do. And
Good.
that's part of, there's an appendix in the plan where we summarize and we reviewed all the plans to make sure we weren't proposing anything in this plan that was, contrary to something else that has gone through. And yeah, the comprehensive plan is the holistic, it's the big picture that everything, not even just from a development perspective, but as we're going through the annual budgeting process and figuring out, how to invest our limited maintenance dollars for which streets are we going to maintain. So all of that should be nested in some way to the comprehensive plan. And yeah, there'll be times when a subtopic or specialty topic plan or an annual expenditure doesn't mesh 100% well with the comprehensive plan, but that's why you've got a great set of professional staff and you all's decision makers to adjudicate that. So yes, I think it complements and builds on some of your other specialty plans well.
Good, thank you.
And there's never such thing as too few of plans. Spoken like a planner, right?
Mr. Proctor.
Oh, thank you, Mr. Mayor. So Lance Goddard 05.
That's right.
Do you think that we'll cross 254 in the next 10 years as a city?
I think you guys have a decision to make if you want to do that. right? So the real big, and we address some of it in the comprehensive plan. Will there be requests? Will there be inquiries to do that? Probably. Will you have the utility infrastructure and desire to do that is a legislative decision that you guys will have to make. Based on some of the work that's been done up to this point on your utility, because that's the question, right? Is do you want to, if you want to extend services there, that's for you guys to decide. Is it feasible? Is it possible? Yes, probably. Is it fiscally a priority? I can't make that determination for you. But as 254 continues to see investment, will there be inquiries? I would say yes. I would try to get it all south of 254 though.
And that is one of the things that the K254 Corridor Development Association is pursuing, is to try to encourage development. But there was such a safety issue along that corridor that it needed top priority, and had some good successes. Okay, a lot more to be done, but it's moving along, so that's a good thing.
Yeah, and just a comment to that, that the group's done a great job. A lot of communities have been involved in that. And I think the more development we see, just the better, because I think it'll just keep pushing KDOT. It'll keep pushing all the stakeholders involved to make those things happen sooner rather than later, as far as making the infrastructure investments, whether that be us as a city, whether that be KDOT, whether that be another community. The growth is just going to sort of feed that. But I think well said, the decision is ours on some of those things, because there are some pieces of it that the city has to make that investment, and we have to decide if that's what we want to do.
Yeah.
But I think well said.
I'm sure a lot of you have been, as we've kind of introduced this type of thought process within the comprehensive plan about thinking about the fiscal productivity of our development pattern. So again, not all development is good development, depending on how you look at it, right? So as we continue, and again, this is something that's definitely changed since your guys' last plan, but is there a return on investment type thought process that we have to undertake as public servants to understand what type of development at what types of densities do we want in certain types of locations? So there's more information in the comp plan about that, and we just kind of broke the surface, but those are the conversations, right, that all cities are faced with nowadays. Is it making sense from a fiscal responsibility perspective based on all the responsibilities and maintenance obligations that we have on behalf of our taxpayers? So that kind of, you'll hear smart growth, you'll hear land productivity, return on investment, all kinds of different things. But this plan starts you on that path.
I think one of the personal things that I learned through the comp plan process, besides just some of the little things through engaging with citizens and with planning commission, and was the statistic of how undeveloped we are. 60% of our land area, and I can't remember the exact acres, but lots of acres, is not developed. So there's this huge opportunity to really grow into that full city, because we've got the land. And the city doesn't own a lot of that land, right? A lot of that's privately owned, but it's in our boundary, and we have that opportunity, and this vision helps us set how we go about using that. The other big thing I learned earlier on, and that was sort of later, was just how much institutional land that we have, and how that has, a negative effect on ROI, and how we probably don't need to invest in that type of development anymore, because we're already a little heavy. That was one kind of nugget I learned early on, which I'm not saying that the folks that we have that institutional are wonderful. They add a lot to our community, but as we develop out, that's probably going to be less of a focus than it maybe was 20 years ago. So
that's the exact type of, framework or thinking that we try to encourage through this, is to, assess, analyze each potential project or particular geographic location of your city with that mindset, right? So I know I'm generating no revenue in this area of the city because it's tax exempt or whatever, but we still have services that we need to provide, emergency services. We're still maintaining the utilities and the roadway network and everything else. And so that balance across a community is what creates that fiscal health. So it helps put a different lens or an additional lens when making land use decisions that we definitely did not do 10 years ago.
Right.
So, and it's important, but it's just a piece of
Sure.
the conversation. It's not the entire conversation.
Right.
All right. Any other discussion concerning this comprehensive plan? If there are none, I'll entertain a motion.
Okay. I would like
Mr.
to.
Proctor.
Yes, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to make a motion to, for the consideration of an ordinance approving the recommendation of the Bel Aire Planning Commission, recommendation approval of the Bel Aire 2035 Comprehensive Plan for Bel Aire, Kansas. And I would like to motion, we do the first option to approve.
Okay, thank you. So just a small amount of coaching. What our staff has done is they've outlined the verbiage of a motion, and there's usually specific language there for a specific reason. And so it's always helpful if you read it the way it's written here. Now, if you have exceptions to it, that's fine. You can make those exceptions.
Oh, I see. So
Okay.
no, that's fine.
Okay.
I'll read option one.
Okay.
Sorry, I was reading
Thank
C.
you.
Motion to approve the recommendation of the Planning Commission, adopt the ordinance approving Bel Aire 2035 Comprehensive Plan and authorize the mayor to sign.
I'll second.
Please.
Very good. Thank you. And I have a motion by Mr. Proctor and a second by Mr. Dean. Any other questions or discussion? Again, this will be a roll call vote, so I'll ask our city clerk to please call the roll. And this is unusual to have this many roll call votes in one evening, but we do. Mostly it's just voice vote.
Mr. Greg David,
Aye.
Mr. Tyler Dean,
Aye.
Miss Emily Hamburg is absent, Mr. Brandon McIntosh,
Aye.
Mr. Mike Proctor,
Aye.
and Mayor Jim Benaj.
Aye.
And the motion carries 5-0, Mayor.
Very good. Thank you.
Mr. Mayor,
Mr. Dean.
I was going to wait till after we voted, but I did have a item that I wanted to read, just sort of related to comp plan, and if you'd give me a moment to read that.
Okay.
Bear with me. I'm going to read this so I can stay on track. So I thought more about our effort over the last year during the process of the comp plan. It got me thinking more about a message that was given at a recent economic outlook conference about health in the state of Kansas and how it continues to decline. After I took time to read Leading Health, a book written by Ed O'Malley, who is a guest speaker and is the CEO of the Kansas Health Foundation. The book is a good read. I would actually recommend it to anybody that's interested in learning more about the importance of improving health and the leadership required to help make progress for communities in Kansas on this issue. After reading it, I reflected on my personal connection to that issue of community health and how we can step up our game. I have been involved with Safe Routes to School, bike walk initiatives, some of the local walking events. I generally consider myself and our family as a fairly active family. While those efforts have been worthwhile, and I will continue to support those and do those things, I do think that it's time for a more holistic approach. I think that was a good word used earlier, for an overall vision and strategy for our state, and more specifically for us, our local leaders, for how we can set a vision and get more community engagement and investment on this specific issue. In our community, there is certainly higher expectations placed on quality of life. I think most of us recognize that. I'm proud of the vision of our previous leaders of our city to invest in building our current rec center, our parks, and our programs. I think our current staff, mayor, our council, including some that recently completed their public service, John and Tom, for the programs we have now and the progress we have made recently with rebuilding. And it's going to be a little bit of a repeat from what our city manager said earlier, but I want to reiterate what we've already done. Rebuilding Eagle Lake Park, play equipment, important repairs to the community pool, relocation of the sand volleyball court to the rec center complex, the plan for our new city park known as Skyview, and our recent decision to replace staging equipment at the rec. Building on that, we have a great opportunity to continue that tradition and meet the needs of our growing community for the next generation. I believe Bel Aire can be a model for what a healthy community looks and feels like, and how to grow community engagement and produce positive outcomes related to health. It's great timing. As we have adopted a comprehensive plan, we can move our plan in implementation mode, and we can start in on the recommendations and lay out steps to execute on strategies. We should continue supporting our current Parks and Rec and tree board initiatives, along with bringing more citizens into the conversation. This will help with moving forward master plans for the bike ped, the Parks and Rec master plan, to move these priorities forward into more robust plans and implementation of policy and process to create more walkable, bikeable development, more accessible arterial streets, and ultimately provide spaces for more community and exercise, improving health of body and mind. While we don't have a rec commission or a park board at this time, I would request staff for help and council's consideration of formally establishing the Park, Recreation, and Trails Advisory Board as a recommendation in our new comp plan to allow more citizens to engage in that important work. I do believe our citizens expect significant investments in Bel Aire parks, paths, and our rec center in the next 5 years. To follow through, we need to have a good roadmap and more community engagement, not less, to help guide these types of decisions. This will help council refine vision, put together more detailed plans, and ultimately prioritize the funding needed for those related projects. Speaking of funding, one of the first major focuses for the committee should be reviewing our current master plans, making recommendations for potential improvements and priorities or phasing, along with reviewing additional revenue streams, such as a potential citywide sales tax to allow for delivering on larger investments, more than our current budget can withstand for these specific quality of life amenities. I would suggest discussing this topic in depth at an upcoming workshop so we can decide how that might look going forward and how to best get citizens engaged. Thanks for giving me a few minutes, Mayor.
Okay. All right. Thank you. I think that would be a good project or topic to put into a workshop for future discussion. The other issue I would ask staff to peg is a date to revise the comprehensive plan when the 2024 data is available so that we can just update the data. Okay. Thank you. All right, move on to item D, which is a resolution establishing the bylaws of the Board of Zoning Appeals. So on September 2nd, the City Council designated the Planning Commission as the Board of Zoning Appeals. Staff then drafted bylaws, which were reviewed and approved by the board on November 13th. Now the ordinance to adopt bylaws comes before the City Council for consideration. Community Development Director Paula Downs is here to discuss and answer questions. And this was one of those things that we're just in going through things, we found we needed to clean up. It was, we officially had one, but nobody knew about it. And so we reestablished it, and now we got the bylaws ready for council to consider.
Correct. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The bylaws for the Board of Zoning Appeals, the Planning Commission serves a dual role, and they are also the Board of Zoning Appeals. That meeting occurs during the regularly scheduled Planning Commission meetings, second Thursday of every month. And so we went through a lot of review and development of the Planning Commission bylaws, and since they're the overall body, the bylaws for the Board of Zoning Appeals were modified accordingly. So it's not every single thing from the Planning Commission bylaws, but those things that are just directly reflective of the Board of Zoning Appeals. There's no surprises in there. We didn't have to create anything new. We actually just pared some things down. One of our Planning Commissioner / Board of Zoning Appeals members did go through pretty succinctly and went and provided a detailed report of some questions and concerns. We met, he was satisfied with the updates and the responses. There's some things that staff will follow up with moving forward, some education pieces, but they did approve the bylaws as presented, and the request tonight is that the City Council also approve them.
Thank you. Any questions or discussion? If there is none, we'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Mayor,
Mr. David.
I'll motion to adopt a resolution establishing bylaws of the Board of Zoning Appeals as presented and authorize the mayor to sign.
I'll second.
A motion by Mr. David, a second by Mr. Dean. Any questions or discussion? If there are none, I'll call for a vote. All in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries 4-0. Move on to item E. This is a funding agreement with the Sedgwick County for the Bel Aire Senior Center. So the city has been awarded $18,000 from Sedgwick County to help fund the Bel Aire Senior Center for 2026. This is the same amount of funding the Senior Center has received in the last several years, and the county helps cover the cost of expenses for the senior program in Bel Aire. And it's been the same for several years, right?
Last 10 years that I know,
Yeah,
probably
yeah.
longer.
Okay. Thank you.
Really something we do every day, every year. Really, I'm up here to answer any questions and give a good shout out to Sarah Christensen, our senior director, probably the most loved employee I have. The seniors love her. She does a great job. And a lot of this and through the contract, there's certain educational opportunities and programs she puts on well above what's required and more. So I just really want to shout out Sarah for the great job she does in the seniors. But here to answer any questions if you have any on the grant, as well as Maria. She's reviewed it as well, our city attorney.
Mr. Mayor,
Mr. David.
does Sarah go and petition the county for amount, or is that just something they pass every year?
Something they pass every year. There's this is the level we're most comfortable with. There's some higher levels, but it involves a little more. I can't remember. We've had this conversation, Mayor Vidage, and I cannot remember why we don't. There's a $35,000 level, but
Yeah, but
it's
they have-
almost more work than we.
Yeah, there's like a list of 10 or 15 items we have to do to qualify for this. And then that list grows longer for the more money. So
I think it requires a full-time employee dedicated, and Sarah right now is a senior part-time rec coordinator. So she helps Brian and the seniors. So I think that might have been one of the big reasons why it doesn't the numbers don't pan out as well. Yeah.
Mr. Mayor,
Mr. McIntosh.
do we already carry the liability insurance requirement as outlined in Article 7.5 of this agreement?
Good question. We do.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, next year we might want to talk to the county about what can they do, because it's the same amount for years, right? But I don't know if they will do anything, but it might be something worth floating about. So,
10 years of inflation. Mr. Mayor,
Mr. David.
I'll make a motion to approve an $18,000 funding agreement between Sedgwick County and the city of Bel Aire for the Bel Aire Senior Center and authorize the mayor to sign.
Second.
A motion by Mr. David, a second by Mr. Proctor. Any other questions or discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for a vote. All in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries 4-0. We have no need for an executive session tonight, so we'll move on to discussion and future issues. Next week, we have our monthly workshop for December 9th at 7 p.m. And you have some items that we're going to discuss?
So I kind of floated this idea in my manager's report. I'd really love if let's take a poll. If we want to start at 5 and meet at the new Public Works facility, might be enough light, 5 to 5:30 or so, to see everything, see our new facility. It would almost be better to start at the old facility, but I think we'll run out of light by the time we get over there. But I think in 5, or we can do a special meeting of something. But I think if we did 5 o'clock over there, we could start here at 6 instead of 7 for the workshop, and then be out by, hopefully 7 or so. But I wanted to bring it up to the council if they're amenable to touring the new facility at 5 o'clock on next Tuesday.
Ted, what items were you planning on covering in an hour?
So the other items, excuse me, we wanted to talk about, PC will be here. They've been helping us kind of with conceptual engineering of our east-west sidewalk project. That's the phase ones in Wampo. They want to kind of talk about that process and how that might work, as well as Mayor Benaj asked me, the legislative session in Topeka might be a little shorter than it has been in the past. I'm not sure, but we want to get out in front of it.
Yeah, they're going to want to go home because
Yeah.
it's election year for everybody except the senators. So, yeah.
So we were going to just pull out that one-page legislative letter we usually send, review it, see if we want to add anything, possibly review LKM's legislative agenda, if I can get a hold of it, and just talk about that and kind of have a short one in December. If you remember, we usually don't have a workshop in December, but Veterans Day fell on our November workshop, so we canceled November. So I think we probably need to have one.
No, that makes sense.
Are we okay? And the 5 o'clock tour is not, man, you don't have to mandatory go there. I just might be over there, and whoever shows up will take the tour, and then I can take anybody individually at any time when their schedule goes. But I think the major change would be start the workshop at 6 instead of 7 next Tuesday.
I'd be interested in a tour of the new facility.
Yeah, I can make that work.
Sounds like a good plan.
Sounds like you got a plan there.
Okay, very good.
Consensus is everybody says, yeah, 5 o'clock's fine. So,
And I'll try to preface in January workshop, we have short-term rentals. There's been a few questions about the noise ordinance over the last few weeks, and a few council members asked me to review that with Chief. And then also the speed, or I figured those three kind of relate to each other: short-term rentals, noise ordinance, and the speed limits that we set in Bel Aire. Chief Atterbury might come talk about how that process works. And then that leads us to February, where usually February we discuss our priorities, our CIP, and that might fit nice with what Councilmember Dean discussed earlier tonight. So that's kind of the workshop plan. As far as council meetings, you'll have to wait and see for those.
so that February workshop is actually the beginning of the 2027 budget process. So it sounds early, but we have to have it approved in September. So it takes some time to get it put together. So, okay. Anything else we need to discuss for future issues?
The only other thing I was going to just mention, the comp plan is a big deal to get passed tonight. We really appreciate it. We talked a little bit. We had a zoning case, talked about the golden factors. One of the golden factors is, does it relate to the comp plan? So updating that's huge. The other big thing that's been much needed in the last at least 2 years that I've been here, and as long as Paul's been here, I appreciate all her work. We need to update some codes, some zoning codes, and a lot of that flows from the comp plan. So I think in 2026, we'll be doing a lot of work in our code book and looking at those types of codes and cleaning them up. So big night tonight for staff passing that plan. Thank you.
All right. Anything else anybody wants to bring up? If not, we can move to adjournment.
Mr. Mayor,
Mr. Dean.
I move we adjourn.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Dean, a second by Mr. David. All in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Too bad. Motion carries 4-0. We're going home.